I'll be busy looking after the baby soon. I won't be able to come home for a while, so try not to miss me too much, okay?" My husband said this as he packed his things. I just stood there watching him. He didn't seem to care about how I felt. He kept laughing and humming, asking about our son's baby bottle. But the baby he was talking about wasn't ours. He'd gotten another woman pregnant, and the baby was theirs. This man had left me and our son behind. My name is Linda, and I'm 42 years old. I work part-time as a caregiver, so I don't earn much. But I'm studying to become a certified nursing assistant. My family consists of my husband and our son. My husband is 45 years old and works as a manager in a fairly big company, where he's been for many years. My husband used to flirt with other women a lot, and it made me cry many times. I asked him who was more important to him, me or the other women, but I never left him because I loved him. After our son was born, he stopped flirting and focused on his job. Our son, Robert, is turning 18 this month. Time has gone by quickly as I've balanced work, cleaning the house, and taking care of him. Robert went through a rebellious phase, but now he's about to finish high school. He's working hard to get into his dream college, studying every day after school. If he gets in, he'll move away from home, which worries me a bit. As parents, we still want to protect him, but Robert has grown tall and handsome, almost an adult. I need to find a hobby to help me adjust to him becoming independent. While Robert was busy studying for his college entrance exams, there were times when my husband started coming home late. At first, I thought it was just because of his job, but there was a time when he didn't answer my calls or messages, which made me suspicious. Since then, I found enough reasons to doubt him, like the smell of perfume on his suits and long hairs in the car that weren't mine. But I never found the courage to confront him about it. Then, one day during dinner as a family, my husband drank more than usual. With a flushed face, he said, "Robert has really grown up, hasn't he? I still want to be a kid though, but you've grown so much taller since middle school, and your face has become more mature, hasn't it?" Robert seemed embarrassed to be treated like an adult and scratched his head. My husband, looking at him casually, asked, "So you don't need your old man anymore, huh?" "What are you talking about?" Caught off guard by the sudden change in conversation, I couldn't help but chime in. Both Robert and I looked at him suspiciously as my husband finished the rest of his beer and said, "Well, the thing is, my girlfriend is pregnant." The room fell silent. Did he just say what I think he said? Girlfriend? Pregnant? It didn't make any sense. I let out a dry laugh. "I think you've had too much to drink today." "No, this is a true story," he insisted. "I met her a year ago, and we've been dating ever since. I was planning to keep it a secret, but it seems like we accidentally made a baby." I stood up quickly and covered Robert's ears. Robert didn't seem to follow, looking at his father with a blank expression. "Robert, go back to your room." "What? This is the last time we'll all be together. I haven't had much time to talk to Robert lately. Let him stay here a little bit longer." "How can you say that? I don't understand how you think it's okay for our son to hear this. And what do you mean by the last time?" I couldn't control my anger, and my voice rose. I hugged Robert tightly, wanting to shield him from the conversation. He's already in a sensitive period because of his upcoming exams, so I don't want him to hear this kind of talk. But my husband didn't care and kept talking. "Well, I'm not coming home for a while because I'll be helping her raise the baby, you know." My head spun at my husband's words. So he'd have been seeing another woman and was having a baby with her, and he's only telling us now when the birth is near. I couldn't understand his behavior, and I felt like I was going to lose it. We had been together for over 20 years. There were times when I genuinely disliked him, but I always felt secure when I saw him being a responsible father to Robert. Did he really want to be with his mistress so much that he would throw away all the trust we had built over the years? Well, that's how it is. "I'm going to replace this weekend, and I'll start getting ready now," he said, starting to pack his things in a backpack. I stood there, feeling like a hole had been torn in my heart. "Hey, do we still have the baby bottles Robert used?" My husband was all smiles, unlike us. I silently shook my head. There was one thing left, but it wasn't for him and his mistress. It was saved for when Robert grew up, so my husband and I could look back on our parenting together, praising each other and sharing memories. My husband left the room, muttering about it being a waste, and went to the bedroom to organize his clothes. Did he just abandon us? Robert whispered, tears in his eyes, and I couldn't find the words to deny it. 3 days later, my husband was apparently heading to his mistress's place. When I cried that I had actually once believed in him, he said, "I always wanted a second child, but you were always so busy, right? And while we were doing all that, we got older and older. I knew we couldn't have another one." His laugh hurt my heart deeply. Robert, holding back his tears, glared at his father while rubbing my back. "What's with that look? By the time you come back, I won't be here anymore. Are you okay with that? Sure, you're an adult now, right? You've lost your childlike charm, and you're not as cute anymore. I heard my girlfriend's baby is a girl, so I might like her even more than you." Robert lunged at his father. He flinched for a moment, but then glared back at Robert. "Ah, she's so young and cute, unlike you guys. I'm really looking forward to our future together." "Yeah, I get it now. You're the worst, Dad. At least now both Mom and I can make up our minds. We know what to do." I also spoke up, following Robert. "You should know that there will be no home for you to return to anymore." My husband looked annoyed and quickly let go of Robert's hand. He left without even saying goodbye. Robert held me up as I felt myself getting weaker. We didn't just sit around after we found out about my husband's girlfriend. We started planning what to do next. About 2 weeks later, my husband called. He laughed and said things were going well with their daughter. He even sent a picture of the girlfriend holding the baby, which made me really angry. But without knowing, he gave us proof. I saved the picture and recorded our conversation, amazed at how silly he was. Then, right on time, my husband's girlfriend took the phone. "Are you his wife?" "I'm sorry I took your husband, but we have a child together now. So there's nothing you can do, right?" Yeah, being a parent is a handful. It's good you're cool about it. When your husband talked about you, I thought you were just someone who cried a lot and couldn't handle stuff. But you're not like that at all. That's what he'd been telling his girlfriend about me. Half a year ago, those words would have hurt me a lot, but now they didn't faze me. I didn't love my husband anymore. You knew he was married with a kid, and you still went after him, didn't you? At first, I didn't know he was married. Your husband always took off his wedding ring when we met, so when he finally told me, I was surprised, but it didn't change how I felt about him. "We're meant to be together forever," she said. "It's a good thing they're both clueless," I thought to myself. This would prove that the mistress knew my husband was married but still stayed with him. Her words made me mad, but this evidence would be crucial. If she seemed sorry and upset about the baby, it would have been harder to get back at her. I wished them luck and ended the call. 2 years later, I saw that familiar number on my phone. I took a deep breath before answering. "Hey, how have you been? I'm on my way home, so make sure the house is clean, okay? Didn't I tell you there's no home for you anymore? What are you trying to prove?" My husband sounded frustrated. "Yes, I know I left suddenly, but I can't leave her to raise the child alone, can I? You're a mother too. You should get it." He still doesn't understand. He hasn't changed since that day. But maybe that's a good thing. It makes me sure that Robert and I were right to look out for ourselves. "I think you've got it wrong. There's literally no house for you to come back to." "I sold it," I said, hearing my husband gasp. I decided to explain everything that happened that day 2 years ago to my husband, who seemed clueless. My son and I were figuring out how to get him out of our lives for good. In the middle of it, I realized he might want to come back. But after all he'd done and said, I couldn't live with him anymore. Even our house felt tainted now. When I shared this, Robert calmly asked me, "Isn't this house in your mom's name?" "Yes, we renovated and moved into this house that I inherited from my grandfather," I replied. "In that case, why don't we sell it?" Robert suggested. His suggestion surprised me, but selling the house would make sure my husband couldn't come back. Plus, we could use the money to hire a lawyer and a private investigator for the divorce. Robert had been saving money for months so we could live without worries. With his savings and a bit more, I could move away with him. I agreed to Robert's idea and started getting things ready. Robert worked really hard in his studies and got accepted to a college far away. I also got certified as a nursing assistant, which meant I could earn more and work anywhere. So, we sold the house. We made sure to get permission from my grandfather, who had taken care of me like my parents since mine had passed away early. When I told him about my husband, he was really mad. My grandparents gave us some of their savings to help us start our new life. They insisted, saying they didn't need the money at their age. They handed me an envelope filled with cash, and I was moved to tears by their kindness. With their help, we moved to the state where Robert's college was located. You never cared about what we were doing while Robert was studying for his exams, so I bet you don't know where we live now, I told my husband. You can't trick me like that. My husband's voice got louder, sounding panicked. If you're lying, come prove it yourself. We're busy, so we'll hang up now. Hey, wait. Robert, who had been quietly listening, took the phone from me. Dad, remember what you said? Then we don't need you anymore. We agree. We don't need a dad who leaves us for his girlfriend. With a firm tone, Robert told him this, and my husband started crying. Please don't leave me. I know I messed up. I took the phone back, ready to end things. You might not want a divorce, but we're moving forward with it. And did you know? If your girlfriend's baby was conceived during our marriage, you'll have to pay even more in alimony. Better start preparing for that. I hung up without waiting for his reply. He kept calling, but I ignored it. I didn't need any more stress. From now on, my husband would have to deal with the costs of raising his girlfriend's child and paying me alimony. My husband wasn't good at supporting himself, and I always had to clean up after him. He'd leave dirty dishes and laundry everywhere, hardly ever helping around the house. Sometimes he'd proudly take out the trash, but that was rare. I don't think he and his young girlfriend will last long. After speaking my mind, I feel like a weight has been lifted off my chest. I take a deep breath. Robert looks worried about me. I'm okay. I said what I needed to, and I feel much better now. Let's go out and eat something you like today. I force a smile at Robert, even though I'm tired. He still looks worried, but he tries to be cheerful for my sake. Seeing my smiling son debating between steak, sushi, or pizza is absolutely adorable. We've been through a lot of tough times, but let's make even more happy memories. This new place is unfamiliar, but Robert and I will be just fine. I need to work hard to help him become more independent. When I decided to live with him, he was glad to still get my home-cooked meals since he's not great at cooking. But now, having friends over or getting a girlfriend might be awkward with me around. Robert is so caring that he'll always worry about me, and his girlfriend might get tired of it eventually. I'll need to teach him how to cook so he can live on his own, which means I'll be even busier. Even though my husband is gone, I don't feel lonely anymore. Thinking about our future life together, I laugh and feel refreshed. With my husband completely out of my life, I can live the rest of my days with a clear conscience.
I should have been overflowing with joy at finally owning the home of my dreams, but instead, I find myself dreading each weekend. The reason? My husband's parents visit every single week, and each time, I'm treated like a maid. Far from getting a break from work-related stress, I only grow more exhausted with every day off. Reaching my breaking point, I decided to invite my own parents over, hoping it would deter my in-laws from their constant visits. But when I told my husband, he erupted in anger. Don't you dare invite your parents. If you don't like living here, you can leave. Fine, if that's how it's going to be, I'll leave. He'll be the one to regret this decision. My name is Emma, and I've been married to Michael for 5 years. We were previously renting, so the purchase of our new home was a big milestone for us. However, it didn't escape Michael's parents. "Oh, Emma, we heard you're finally buying your own house," his mother exclaimed. "Yes, that's right. If you need any help finding places, just let us know. We're more than happy to assist, she added. Thank you. We might start visiting some open houses soon, I responded, though the idea of their continued involvement made me uneasy. I had envisioned selecting our new home with Michael as a personal and carefully considered process, but my mother-in-law had other plans. Just yesterday, she showed up unannounced with a brochure for a plot of land that's up for sale. Emma, what do you think about this property? It's close to the subway station and has enough space for a duplex house. A duplex house? It dawned on me that they must be planning to move in with us. That's why she's been so involved in our property search, offering suggestions like, it would be better to live near the subway to avoid walking too much, or a nearby supermarket would be so convenient. I thought she was simply being helpful, but it turns out she was pushing for features she prefers, clearly with the expectation of sharing our new home. I immediately brought this up with Michael. Michael, your mother came over this afternoon with a brochure for a plot of land. It looks like she and your father might want to live with us. Oh yeah, she did mention something like that, he replied. What? You heard it from your mom? Why didn't you tell me something this important? I thought we'd discuss it once it was more finalized. Do you have objections, Emma? Yes, I do. I envisioned us living alone together. Besides, your parents are still healthy, aren't they? While I can't predict the future, I believe it's best for us to live separately for now to maintain a good relationship. I understand how you feel, Emma, Michael said. Michael listened to my concerns and managed to convince his parents that we weren't planning to live together at this time. After hearing his reasoning, it seems his parents finally relented. I was grateful to him for handling the situation so well. Thank you, Michael. No problem, Emma. If your parents want to live with them, we won't force it. Instead, let's make sure my parents visit our new home frequently after we move in. Eventually, Michael and I found the perfect house and moved in. As soon as we settled, his parents came over to check out our new place. Emma, congratulations on the move. Your house is wonderful, his mother exclaimed. It seemed she was pleased with our home. You're always welcome to visit, I replied warmly. That evening, we all enjoyed a meal together at the dinner table. The following weekend, I suggested to Michael that we go shopping for living room decorations, but he seemed hesitant. Can we put off the shopping for another time? Do you have plans for the weekend? My parents wanted to come over, I explained. What? They just visited last week. They seem to really like this house. Remember, you said, feel free to visit anytime, right? Well, yes, I did say that. But could you handle dinner and entertain them a bit? Soon after, his parents started visiting every week, and their demands grew with each visit. Emma, it's been so hot lately, and I'm feeling drained. Something light, like noodles, would be fine for lunch. But for dinner, I'd like something hearty like steak. Also, do you know the new pastry shop near the station? It's the talk of the town, so I think it'd be perfect for dessert. Could you pick up some? They began arriving early in the morning, giving orders, never helping with chores, and then leaving. By the second visit, they even assumed it was okay to stay overnight. Where's the typhoon? And since your parents enjoy a good breakfast, could you have it ready for us first thing in the morning? The demands from my in-laws kept increasing. Between managing their needs and my work fatigue, I barely had a chance to rest on weekends, which only added to my exhaustion. Reaching my breaking point, I made a heartfelt plea to my husband. Michael, I really need your mom and dad to stop staying over every weekend. We can't just refuse them. They've made it clear they want to visit. Well, you could set some boundaries. Look, with working on weekdays and taking care of your parents from morning till night on weekends, I'm left with no time to rest. Consider this, if we were living with them full-time, it'd be every single day, not just weekends. They originally wanted to move in with us, but since you strongly opposed it, we prioritized your wishes and they agreed to back off. Compared to living together, having them over on weekends might actually be the better option. But it was becoming unbearable to continue this situation indefinitely. As I wrestled with what to do, my mother called. Oh, Emma, how are you? Sorry, Mom. I haven't been in touch lately. I'm managing, somehow. You sound a bit down. Is everything okay? Well, actually, I shared with my mother the difficulties I was facing with my mother-in-law's constant visits since our move. My mother expressed concern and said, "That sounds really challenging. I can imagine how overwhelming it must be with settling in and buying new things. I've been holding off on calling because I know your in-laws visit every weekend. I haven't even invited my own mother to our new house yet. Maybe if I invite her over, your in-laws might hold off on their visits for that weekend." That evening, I brought up my idea to Michael when he got home from work. "Hey Michael, I'd like to invite my parents over this weekend. Is that okay with you?" His response was unexpected. "No, my parents have already planned to come this weekend." "But your parents have visited so many times already." "My parents haven't been over even once." "That's because your parents haven't mentioned wanting to visit. My mother has been patient, waiting for us to get settled. She's really eager to come." "Oh really? Well, then, how about scheduling your parents for when mine aren't coming? They've waited this long, they can wait a bit longer. Isn't it odd to always prioritize your parents who are here so often? Can't your parents wait until next week?" "You're my wife now. It's natural for us to prioritize my parents. Anyway, you should let your parents know this weekend isn't a good time." "I don't want to do that." "You should just not invite your parents. If I can't have my parents over because of that, then your parents shouldn't come to our house either. They gave you to me, so they should be prepared not to see their daughter all the time." "That's unreasonable. Why shouldn't I be able to invite my parents? Even though I'm married, isn't it natural for them to want to see their family?" Despite Michael's firm refusal, I proposed a compromise. "All right, let's skip this weekend, but from now on, let's try to alternate inviting each other's parents on a regular basis." "How about that?" That's exactly. If you're going to suggest something as troublesome as this, we might as well not invite your parents at all. Let's just end this conversation." "But we haven't resolved anything yet. I've made up my mind. I'm not letting your parents come over. If you don't like it, you can leave." No matter what I said, Michael only focused on his parents, never considering me or my own family. His refusal to discuss the matter and his insistence on his own way finally pushed me to my limit. "Fine, if you're that determined, Michael, I'll leave. And when that happens, it'll be too late for regrets." "Regrets? What would I regret if you're gone? Just remember this. I won't accept any apologies. Don't come back asking to return." Leaving behind a Michael who was laughing loudly, I went home and shared what had happened with my parents. They agreed that Michael's stance was unreasonable, with my father particularly upset. "A person who can't respect their family is fundamentally flawed. I'm disappointed in Michael. You should stay here and not go back to that house." His words reassured me that I wasn't at fault. Feeling a sense of relief, I resolved to pursue a divorce. A few months later, I received a call from Michael. "Hey, how much longer are you planning to stay away? Have you forgotten what day it is?" "This Saturday." He spoke with a tone of urgency. "Oh, right, it's the day we were supposed to host your co-workers at our new house." "Yes, exactly. We've been planning this since we moved. Remember? But isn't your mother-in-law supposed to come that day? Why don't you tell your co-workers that my parents are visiting and cancel the gathering?" "There's no way I can do that. I've invited a new boss for my department, and canceling now could impact my future at work." "I don't care. You're the one who kicked me out, remember? Is this really the time to be arguing? Stop sulking and come back. We need to start preparing for everyone's arrival or we won't be ready in time." "I'm not coming back to that house." "What? Are you really okay with putting my job at risk?" "I don't mind. I'm planning to leave you." "Leave? Are you serious?" "Yes, I've been considering it since I left the house and my parents agree with me." "Your parents too? They're as out of touch as you are." "Do whatever you want. I'll have my parents help with the preparations for hosting my co-workers. I don't need you anymore." "You're going to regret this." "That's what I should be saying. Goodbye." I ended the call abruptly. By now, Michael was probably frantically contacting his in-laws, scrambling to prepare for the office gathering. Since his in-laws had made themselves so comfortable, it was about time they faced some inconvenience. That problematic weekend, our home phone rang in the afternoon. When I answered, Michael's flustered voice came through. "Why is Emma answering the phone? I was trying to reach my new boss." "Why?" "Well, because this is my house." "Emma's house? Don't tell me the new boss is Emma's father." "Yes, my father used to work at Michael's company. He's been away from the main office for a few years as an advisor for a related company's new venture, but he's set to return to the main office next month and will be Michael's new boss." I knew about the internal announcement, but I couldn't reveal it until the embargo was lifted, even to Michael, my husband. I assumed he would figure it out when he saw the boss's name in the announcement, but it seems he didn't check it properly. Michael began to plead desperately. My mother has prepared expensive ingredients and fine alcohol, but no one is coming. When I contacted my colleagues, they said there was a huge commotion at the company because I didn't invite the new boss. If the boss doesn't come, no one else will. They've been asking me to convince my father to come and clear up the misunderstanding. Michael continued. Misunderstanding. It's not a misunderstanding, it's a fact. You said, don't ever invite my parents to our house, didn't you? I didn't know your father was my boss at the time. Then the situation is different now. That's a rather convenient excuse. I asked you repeatedly if you'd regret this, didn't I? Well, it's too late for regrets now. You're responsible for cleaning up your own mess. I hung up before Michael could respond. I informed my father about Michael's call, but understandably, my father had no intention of visiting. There's no need to go to the house of someone who disregards his own family. My father was even more enraged. My father is scary when he's angry. He was looking forward to using the expensive ingredients and alcohol he bought for today, but it seems all that effort was for nothing. The next day, Michael arrived at our house, looking pale and distressed. Emma, I'm sorry for everything I've done. Let's start over. Please come back home. Instead of me, who was staring at him in shock, my father spoke up. Start over. Do you even understand what you've done? Michael, looking pale, knelt before my father. Sir, I'm deeply sorry for my actions. I'm here to apologize. You've ignored my daughter for months and haven't even bothered to visit her. I didn't realize you'd be so unreliable. That's not the issue. I've been busy with work. Oh, really? I heard you're also working weekends. Weekends? Well, Michael stuttered. It's likely his mother was visiting him every weekend. Michael, who never did any housework, would have struggled without her help. I'm sure she was also assisting him during the weekdays, taking advantage of my absence. My father, sensing the underlying issue, said sternly, forget it. It seems you get along well with your parents. It looks like you rushed into marriage before you were ready to stand on your own. That's not true. I do respect Emma's feelings and even turned down the idea of living with my parents. Is it really natural for a couple to decide whether to live with their parents? You kept pressuring Emma to accept your parents and never listened to her. How does that show you're prioritizing her feelings? Well, and marriage means that both families become connected. Yet you invited your parents over every weekend while completely shutting us out. How could you disregard Emma's family like that? I didn't know you were going to be my boss. If I had known, I would have invited you before my parents. That's exactly why I say you're self-centered. You don't understand anything. People like you shouldn't be in a leadership role. My department doesn't need someone as selfish as you. But silence. Get out of my house now and don't ever come back. Afterward, my father advised his superior to remove Michael from his department and reassign him to a regional branch. With Michael's reputation for selfishness, no one defended him. Even his parents, who had once doted on him, couldn't follow him to a remote location. They now see him only once a year, if that. Meanwhile, I've been enjoying the comfortable life at my parents' house after finalizing my divorce with Michael. I focus on my work during the week and spend weekends with the people I love. Reflecting on my past, I appreciate my new freedom and the ability to live a normal, satisfying life. Moving forward, I want to cherish my parents and enjoy living at my own pace.